We are finally here. The grand final is upon us.
Well, we've got to get those points back on the Aussies, don't we?
We're fine. Our confidence is high.
Well, what a weekend of sporting drama these fans are going to see.
Great start there between Japan and Australia.
This is turning into the extreme sailing series, isn't it?
It's pretty fruity, it's gusty.
That's how you do it, buddy. Well done, guys.
And this is what you call a dead set, a drag race to the top. Any of you Australian fans out there, get up and get excited.
Nice work, boys. Great race.
It could not be harder for our sailors.
This whole event's about getting ready for that big match race.
This is going to run and run till Sunday.
Welcome to the south coast of France for the Marseille SailGP Grand Final. It's already delivered some dramatic racing, and a storm rolling through promises to make the next 2 days of racing even more exciting. It's even pushed us inside to the studio here. But it will decide who takes home this trophy and that $1 million prize purse, being crowned the inaugural SailGP champions. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboard so far, so we can see what the points look like after the first day of racing here in Marseille. Japan and Australia have already booked themselves a place in the grand final, the championship race. Great Britain, China, United States and France, just 10 points separating them as they battle it out for third. This is the schedule for the racing over the next 2 days. We've got 3 more fleet races today, and there are valuable championship points up for grabs for all of the teams. And then tomorrow, the first 2 fleet races will decide the classification for 3rd to 6th place. And then there's the sailing equivalent of a street fight at 3:30. It is that championship final race between Japan and Australia. Now, in the studio with me, I have 2 very experienced sailors from different ends of the sailing spectrum. I've got 3-time Olympian Jean-Baptiste Bernaz and the 3-time America's Cup veteran Matt Cornwell. Jean-Baptiste, you're a local here in Marseille. We've got some very interesting conditions out on the water there.
Yes, today the wind is coming from the city, so it's going to be gusty and shifty. Let's see how is the game, around 20 knots. Going to be fun today.
OK, sounds like it's going to be similar conditions to New York. We saw quickly there, Matt, on the graphics, the battle for third. That is really going to heat up today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been an interesting question all year, hasn't it? You know, realistically, who's going to come third in this season, this first season? And the British really staked a claim for it yesterday. They sailed 3 really good, clean races and have got a nice 8-point gap over the other 2 now. But I think with the fruity weather conditions we've got over this weekend, I think there could still be some twists in the tail.
OK, looking back up at the top of the table, we expected the skippers, Nathan Outridge and Tom Slingsby of Japan and Australia, to try and keep their noses clean yesterday and stay out of trouble. That couldn't be further from the truth. We saw some of the most intense racing we've ever seen on SailGP. Make absolutely no mistake, for these 2, the rivalry is real.
What we're trying to do at SailGP is really create an exemplar organisation that can really drive change. So the point of the beach clean isn't just to pick up the rubbish and to clean it up and to leave a nicer place. We've got to stop that plastic getting into the oceans, into the seas, into our rivers in the first place.
We're not just out there racing boats. This is a much bigger picture than that. We want to stop the situation where you're seeing pieces of plastic and so forth contaminating our oceans and our beaches and our waterways.
You know, we're sailing on these waters, and the least we can do is help look after them. It's a small impact, but every little bit counts, and it's great to be here with a good team cleaning up the beach and doing everything we can, and the more we can do that, the better.
We've got a whole bunch of initiatives that we're looking at. We've got rid of single-use cutlery in our canteens. We've got refillable bottles for all the staff, and we probably think, again, that's probably about 10,000 water bottles we won't have.
Taking all our food and partnering with local charities, all the food that we don't use, distribute that in an effective way to people that really need it. The key is for us to really look at each of our areas and say, how can we improve this? How can we change? And we're partnering with World Sailing, that they've got a new sustainability program that we're signed.
We've set over 50 really bold and ambitious targets for the sport. They're not just about clean oceans and no single-use plastic. They're about actually making reductions in our carbon emissions. They're about eliminating single-use plastic. And SailGP have not only demonstrated, wanting to sign up to it, but actually they've developed a strategy, an operational plan that's really, really going to deliver on this over the next few years.
Apologies for that. It definitely wasn't a film about Nathan and Tom Slingsby, but it is a very noble endeavour nonetheless on sustainability. Not long until we get stuck into fleet race number 4 today, but we can talk about that rivalry between Tom Slingsby and Nathan Outridge. Now, Jean-Baptiste, you've sailed a lot with Tom Slingsby in a laser. He's a very interesting personality on the water, isn't he?
Yes, Tom is a really brilliant sailor. He was the best guy in laser when I was sailing against. And he's really consistent, so today I'm sure he's going to keep sailing really well.
Often you see him using his anger, though, don't you?
He's really competitive. He's really competitive.
It's been quite surprising, though, hasn't it, Matt, watching Nathan Outridge under pressure this week?
Well, the big surprise yesterday that he was the aggressor of the two, and even Tom said in the press conference that he was surprised that Nathan came at him in the pre-starts, starting that match racing already. He said he was surprised, but he said that, he didn't mind it. He was happy to take the fight. But, yeah, interesting to see it that way around.
OK, it's time to hand you over to our commentary team now for the first of the fleet races. It's Jodie Shields and Shirley Robertson.
We are finally here. The grand final is upon us.
Well, we've got to get those points back on the Aussies, don't we?
We're fine, our confidence is high.
That's how you do it, buddy. Well done, guys.
This is going to run and run till Sunday.
Hello, good people, and welcome to Marseille in France for day 2 of the grand finale. Now let's have a look at our course map for today. The race begins with a power reach into the first mark. Then they go downwind to the first gate. Back up the top, they go again. Back down again, then back up the top before heading into the finish along the breakwall in front of the crowd.
Well, the grandstand is full, the stage is set, and conditions today fully on the edge. It's increasing all afternoon to 20 knots plus, with gusts of up to 30, blowing off the city, though, making it really unstable. It's also going to be raining, with thunder and lightning storms firmly on the menu.
Now here are the teams for today's racing, starting with the hometown France, skippered by Billy Besson, with the only female athlete, Marie Rioux, in flight control. This team will be pumped for a good showing today.
The young America's Cup winner, Rome Kirby, with the usual lineup in the back of Johnson and Camfield, but Grinder Agnesi out with illness, and F50 race rookie Ben Bardwell on the handles.
Next up is China world champion match racer Phil Robertson heads the team that has had a virus sweep through the group. Paul Campbell-Janes has loads of experience in the wing trim, and James Wabowski is in flight control.
Just when it all looked like it was back on track, the sickness bug hitting skipper Dylan Fletcher and grinder Matt Gottrell. Let's hope they got it all under control.
Now it's Team Japan's skipper Nathan Outridge has booked his place in the final match race, but he knows he must keep his crew of Ian Jensen, Luke Parkinson, Leo Takahashi and Tim Morrison focused to keep the momentum flowing.
Wingman Lanford's virus earlier in the week now seems a distant memory. He's very much back in the game. Skipper Slingsby keeping it consistent, with Waterhouse on flight control, Hurst and Newton providing the power.
And Shirley, we are here again for racing here in Marseille. And we've been building it up for a bit of breeze. It's right up underneath this break wall, and it looks a little bit light for the start, so it's going to be quite tricky to get off this start line.
Not long to go to this start line. Light under that wall, as you say. Going to be hard to hit that line at full pace.
And here we go, right in towards the start. Billy Besson and Team France, will he get the hole shot? It looks like he's done another fantastic job right down on the pin. No boats foiling at this stage, so like we said, it's very, very light up the top, Shirley. Billy with a great start.
Great start. He has nailed them all weekend. He is flying. Great spot as well under the fleet. Gives him all the options when he gets to that turning mark.
And they've got themselves out into a little bit of wind now. And as you can see, they are up and foiling and smoking in towards that first mark. With China above them, Japan, Australia are not too good off the start line, and the great British team are dead set last off the start, Shirley. Not a good start for Dylan, who's sick at the moment.
No, but look at the French, and they've got a bit of runway before they hit that boundary, so no panic to get the jibe in. Looking to extend, get some distance between them and China.
So our teams who are way down on the leaderboard, who are currently leading this race. France going quite well, China right in behind them. Another couple of boat lengths is Japan. Everybody heading over it, so they might be able to go all the way, halfway down this run, one jibe and into the bottom mark, which would be quite nice for these guys, that's for sure.
French doing so well here, Billy. Look how they've positioned themselves underneath the Chinese. They can jibe whenever they want. And as they come down this course, it is getting windier and windier.
And they're setting themselves up now for a jibe. You can just see the crew on that shot before starting to run across. So France being the furthest boat to push the boundary. China jibe very, very early. Japan jibe way earlier than a lot of them. So had they seen something like we seen yesterday coming in from the seaside, it pushes them straight down the course. Time will tell.
Calling the distance to the ley line.
Concentration on Billy's face there, Shirley. He doesn't want to lose his lead. You can see they've got little jibs up today too, so the smallest of the jibs, the smallest of the boards, so they're anticipating a lot of wind to hit this racetrack very, very soon. China doing a nice job rolling over the top, and there's good drag race all the way down to the bottom here. Looks like France are setting themselves up for a jibe in towards that right-hand gate as they're looking at it. China jibed early, so can Billy nail his jibe? A little bit slow there on the jibe, Shirley. But
just inside the Chinese. He doesn't have to give the Chinese any room on that rounding.
Now, first into the boundary has all right, or into the zone. That yellow ring is basically the zone. So if you get in there first, you can do pretty much whatever you like. USA coming around fourth. Australia still back in the pack a little bit, with Great Britain way back, still in last position. A nice shot of France looking back in towards the China boat there. Watching Billy, looks like they're going to set up for an attack. So you see the crew running across, getting in their new positions. Billy will spin the boat pretty hard here in a minute. As he spins, nice job. Another crewman goes across and away they go on the other tack. So beautiful shots there, Shirley.
We see the Japanese, they've tacked over. Underneath them, we can't see them quite on this shot, is the Australians, and they are very much protecting their lead on the Aussies. Remember, they're 5 points behind on the overall, and Nathan Outridge and his team looking to close up that gap. Whoever finishes first in the series gets the choice of where they start on the start line. So a massive advantage, and definitely in all their thoughts today.
Tommy and his experienced crew have gone over to the seaside, or the right-hand side of the course on the upwind. The other four boats going to the left, so looks like he might have pulled one back here from the USA with that manoeuvre. So he's slowly pegging those points back between him and the Japanese boat. You see them just all coming over. China, France, Japan all want to head over now to where Australia were. They're going to come over and hopefully set themselves up off this right, Shirley. The breeze is still very light.
This is a great shot. I mean, look at the difference between the two. The Japanese boat flying high, flying consistent, almost 4 knots higher when they get going.
You see there, the French have to give way to Japan. They've come off that boundary. They've had to take the stern of Japan, so they had no rights. They're on port tack, now France tacking over.
Pretty poor manoeuvring there from the French. They could have anticipated that duck and got it all a bit more under control. Lost a lot.
Yeah, you see them just in the shot behind. They're just starting to get back up on the foils now, so that's been their nemesis all year, Shirley. They just haven't been able to nail the critical manoeuvres to keep him into the race.
Just got to keep it going here.
Little press. Good angle there.
He's falling into us, so looking good at the moment for us.
Yep.
All his eyes on the Aussies. He's falling into us. That means
Software
Nathan
has
is
us
very
down.
much in control
Little
of
press.
where the Aussie is on the race course.
Good angle there.
Might lift here in this pressure.
Heart rate's up, Jodie.
As you would expect. I think everybody's heart rate's up at the moment.
I mean, look at the speed differences between the Japanese and the rest of the fleet. Particularly when conditions are changing all the time like this, they just have such an advantage. They are so slick, so practiced, so good.
Okay, setting up here, going forward.
So we're just going to see the crossing here. France having to go in behind the Japanese boat. It was pretty close there. You see Billy had to do a fair bit of work, which meant that his setup for the tack was all out of whack. So he basically had a windward hull in the water before he tried to tack, and that's never going to end well. Back to some live racing now. Japan coming off the left-hand boundary on the way up. Look at the angle they're trying to get that thing up and foiling, Shirley. Look who's coming back. They've got their eyes going. They're on the hunt. The Aussies are coming back.
I think that might just have been a long lens on that shot because actually the Aussies are a fair bit back. But it's so difficult at the top of the course, and we can see that from this great heli shot. Light at the top, all puffy, difficult. You've got to link those lumps of pressure together and try not to get stuck in the lulls.
The Aussies are definitely coming back there, Shirley. They're within 100 metres now of the leaders, and they've got good boat speed, 23 knots of boat speed coming off the Australian boat. Have a go at that shot. You wonder why these guys are wearing goggles in the rain, because the rain would be stinging them in the eyes as they're going upwind in 20 knots. It wouldn't be that pleasant on these boats at the moment. They're just struggling. This top end of the course is very, very light, Shirley. Back down to under 10 knots, and they've got little boards and little jibs. Look at this. Here we go. The race is on for first spot. Australia coming in from the left. Look like they've done a nice job on their tack. Japan trying to build.
Your rank, buddy. Yep.
Japan have starboard right, so Australia are going to go right behind them, but they're going to split top mark. So we definitely have a race on here between Australia and Japan, Shirley.
I'm surprised Japan set that all up so they're on the left-hand side of the course. To me, it looks really light and difficult on the left there, in that corner. And all the pressure has been coming in from that right-hand side. So this could open it up.
Yeah, open it up indeed. They were second last at the bottom mark. The Australians were just in front of, they were back there, but their Coxell pretty much back in the race. These blokes know how to fight, and they'll fight right to the end.
Big one on.
So light for Australia. We saw them both hulls in the water. It looks like it's a massive gain for Japan. It's a good job they didn't take my advice, Jodie. Gaining on that left-hand side. They obviously saw a big puff of wind coming in, and they're flying away.
Here they go. You watch them just go up and pop, and then the bows will start turning towards the screen here, and they'll start smoking themselves all the way down to that bottom mark. And if you were a Japanese supporter, you'd be hoping that the Australians aren't doing the same thing, because they'll be just bleeding time.
From here, I think. Software has us to and in from here right now.
Yeah. I'm not sure they're trusting the software
Good
here,
pressure all the way to boundary.
because the wind direction and the velocity, the pressure of the wind is changing all the time.
Looks like we might have a penalty on Australia.
Just hit the boundary, so that's just a reset. They just need to slow down a little bit. Doesn't look happy, Tom Slingsby. Be complaining about the rudder in the warm-up this morning, and to me the boat just seems a little bit unsettled. Not much communications coming off the boat.
It actually looks like they've lost their communications. They don't have their microphones or their earpieces in, so maybe, I know Japan had this same issue in race 2 yesterday, so maybe that's what's going on. All comms have gone down, so they're throwing them off and just trying to sail somehow, work it out by hand gestures or whatever, because that's got to be very hard once the crew are on the opposite side of the boat. So a little bit tough to do that without comms, that's for sure.
can always just see where he drives as well.
Well, he's jived. He's got. Don't worry about him. We're just sailing the wind in our boat, and right now we aren't laying. And the French had a shocker behind.
Yep. Pressure coming here. Yep.
I'm not sure we're needed, Jody. All the comms coming off the Japanese boat, sailing their own race now. They've almost stopped looking behind.
Going up a little more.
Yeah, you heard there, Ian Jensen had eyes only for the Australians, but Nathan sort of dismissed it and said, come on, boys, we've got to race our boat. And that is one way to get in front, is keep your eyes in your own boat and focus on your own boat and just send it. And that's what the Japanese have done down this run. Now they're heading back up the work for the final time. So got one more leg to go, then a little reach in towards the finish in front of the crowds on the break wall.
What a race, though, for the home team. Look at Billy Bisson coming in, picking his ley line, keeping it simple. Very nice work.
Yeah, he led at the first mark, and he's still in there with a mix. So if they can win, I said it yesterday, if they can win, they'll lift the roof off this place down there in Marseille.
Allez, 30 secondes, bonne d'arrêt. Allez, on cale le bateau, il y a de l'air ici.
They didn't learn any French yet.
You can see, I mean, just it's a great shot of the platform. It's so much more unstable than the Japanese boat that we've just been watching.
Take over down.
Throwing it through the tack there is the French boat. Breeze looks like it's building in the little bit in the middle there, Shirley.
I think all the big puffs have predominantly come from that right-hand side. It is blowing old boots out to sea. 40 knots they've got out there, and it's rolling in with the clouds.
Billy Bisson is still in this race. It is not over yet. He is pushing this Japanese boat to the absolute limit. So Nathan was worried about the Australians. I think he's also got to worry about Billy and his team in France.
Nice back, guys. My rake. My rake. Yep.
Here we go. This race is definitely still on. Look at this. France are trying to push across. Can they get the good tack off the boundary? It's been their nemesis all season. They need to get their best tack they've ever done off here and put a little bit of pressure coming into Japan, who are on starboard, but they need to. Now Japan have got to worry about Australia. Will they forget about France, Shirley? What would you do in this situation?
Well, they're nearly finished, aren't they? Round this top mark, and then that dash to the finish. I'd be desperately trying to get France in between. You know, 5 points is a lot between these two champions of this series.
You see there, the breeze looks fairly constant where they're coming into at the moment. A little bit gusty, but which would be good for attack if they can have a nice constant breeze. And the French are just setting up for attack now. You can see in the background.
We're coming into better pressure here.
Oh, bow down a little bit, so not the best tack. And might be able to get it up and foiling. Out they go. So we'll watch this one on the Japanese, see if they can nail a foiling tack.
Here we go. It's all right. Big build, lads. Here we go.
I think the big ooh said it all for us.
And the big build. It means they've got a long way to go to get back up to pace and get both those hulls out the water. They're not happy with that.
I think the little jibs and the little boards are not helping their cause up here, up underneath the break wall where it gets very, very light. So the Australians look like they went over to the right-hand side. We can't quite see them yet on the screen. But it'll be interesting to see how they set themselves up. And there they are. They've gone over the right-hand side, all right, and they are now leading this race, Shirley. So Tom Slingsby has nailed that seaside of the course. In one tack, the Australians have gone from third to first.
More wind, more speed.
Not only just in front, they are 100 metres in front with 400 metres to go to the top gate. And it looks like they'll have one more tack. The Japanese will have at least two more tacks to go before that gate. Here's a replay of the tack of Japan. See, they threw the boat really high, but it just lipped out. The rudder lipped out. I think the new windward rudder lipped out, and the boat just sat down.
We don't normally see that kind of mistakes from this team.
But here we are, the Australians coming in towards the top for the final time. He's got one more tack to go. Very, very high there on the flight control is Jason Waterhouse. Aussie's tacking now. He's making sure he's definitely not making it a very tight lay line. He has gone to the extremities there, Tommy Slingsby. Looks pretty light through here, Shirley.
One hull, each one.
So they've made it up the top now. They've just got to bear away.
They could do a foiling tack and go, so we've got to be careful.
You hear there, Tommy, he's worried about what the Japanese are going to do when they're coming in.
Diff coming off.
They're still 100 odd metres
You'll
behind.
rake all the time here, Milky. You'll rake all the time, just keep rumbling. They're off the foil.
Milky, it's a nickname for Jason Waterhouse, is flying the boat. Just telling them that it is all on him.
Good mode.
And there's a reason why these guys are your current leaders of the championship. They've come from second last spot at the start. They've worked their way through the fleet. They have trusted themselves, and now they've got it right to the lead with only about half of a reach to go in towards the finish line of race number 4 here in the grand finale in Marseille. Australians, what an absolutely awesome job. And that's got to be tough with no comms, Shirley. You can see there, none of them got comms. Tommy's trying to lift them up now to see if they work. But that had to be tough.
It's so difficult, so noisy on that boat. We can hear the foil noise and the wind noise. And they're used to communicating. They're used to discussing, modes as well. Really difficult.
Maybe it's better to throw the comms away because, geez, they were dominant in that last part of that work. That was insanely good. You can hear a bit of rejection, a bit of downturn on Nathan's voice there.
Third spot though, China.
Quite deft, isn't it? Second
Billy Besson's obviously got stuck back in that work somewhere, but coming over the line now for second is Team China.
Yeah, we're probably in hindsight when we're
after leading most of that race, they would be pretty disappointed with losing that lead.
Got past us anyway because they were going 27 and we were going to be doing 8 out of that pack.
Team China, look how light it is through here, Shirley. It's right up underneath this break wall. Big crowds still on the break wall.
Sorry about that round up.
Good result by the Chinese. I mean, so much illness in that camp, really struggling to front a team today, but great result.
Okay, so there we go. The Australians have come from nowhere to take that lead. Well done to the Aussies.
Okay, a very, very challenging first race for a few of the different teams there, but Australia once again showing what they're made of, starting at the very back of the pack alongside Great Britain and then really pushing through, Matt.
Yeah, they did a really good job through that race to begin with when they weren't doing so well, just getting out of phase with everyone else. They always seem to be on a different tack to everyone and going to the different side of the course. And I'm not sure if that was a tactic or they were just seeing something different, but it certainly just enabled them to claw their way back up through the fleet. Yeah, and, then it came down to a little error at the end there with the Japanese, which is kind of surprising. Well, not surprising, but I think the conditions out there are really hard. It is tricky. There are big puffs, big lulls, and I think trying to do manoeuvres in those conditions is difficult.
Well, we've got a little bit of audio we can listen to now from Japan's boat. Apparently, they had some issues coming up on that final upwind leg. Let's hear from them, see what they're saying.
Struggling to keep it on the foil?
I don't think we can. Just go DMG here at the moment, not foiling.
Yeah, so you can hear that they were struggling to foil up that sailors' left-hand side of the course. They'd come right inside, and that cost them dearly, didn't it? They couldn't find any wind there, Jean-Baptiste.
Yeah, I think, as we say, they are just under the city, so sometimes the wind is dropping completely, and the moment you choose to take your tack is really important. And it looks that they didn't find the good place to tack.
Okay, so wind decision costing Japan ultimately, but success for Australia. So a fascinating first fleet race here in day 2 of the Marseille SailGP Grand Final. Australia facing some serious problems. They're starting at the back of the pack. They took a penalty in the middle of the race, and they're somehow, Tom Slingsby forces that boat into the lead. You've sailed against him, JB. What is it? Is it that wily cat in him, the racer?
I think he tried to keep focus on the race. He tried to find his way to stay on the good shift, and it looks fast still, like all the season. So he managed to come back on the race even with the bad start.
Okay, Matt, talk us through the start, because it was another banger, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. They're always fascinating, these starts, aren't they? And I think with the conditions being so tricky, trying to get yourself in a good position for the start is the really difficult bit. And we saw the British were way behind in this. I mean, look how slow they are there. They got it completely wrong. Great to see the French doing well on home turf with the start. Unfortunately, I mean, they had a great race for 3/4 of the race and couldn't quite hang on to it. Of course, the top 2 teams, you know, showing their class again.
Well, you're talking Billy down a little bit there, though, but I think, for me, the first 3/4 of that race, he was so consistent. He really, really pushed Japan.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a bit of local knowledge as well. I don't know if he's done much sailing here before. They looked really clean for the 3/4 of the race. But then just a few of those areas that we sort of see in the past. I mean, these boats are really, really difficult to sail, and they do have the least experienced afterguard. And I think sometimes you can just see that in some of their manoeuvres in critical times, and that can be the difference.
OK, one of the big cruxes, though, that we saw right in the middle of this race that ultimately cost Japan was that tack on the upwind leg. And do you think this was to do with not reading the wind conditions, JB?
I think with those boats, there's a lot of difference of speed when you are or not in the shift and in the gust. And I think this moment was not the right moment to tack, but I'm not sure if you can decide of the moment.
Matt, Nathan had a lot of success down that side of the course, though, on the downwind leg. Do you think he was erring towards that left-hand side because he thought there was better pressure there?
I'm not sure. It's so difficult in these boats because you want to do the minimum amount of manoeuvres. So you're pretty much seeing the guys go from boundary to boundary. So to sort of break out of that, you have to do some manoeuvres in the middle of the course, and it's a big call to do that. I think it is the kind of day to do it. I think also there with that manoeuvre, you know, there is the pressure there. Maybe we're just sort of seeing the odd error creep in. It looked like they didn't have quite enough lift in the board they dropped going into the tack. So I don't think it was necessary to do with the conditions there. I think it's really hard at the top 2 because the puffs are coming off the city and you just can't see them.
OK, well, there's been a lot of talk all of this season about the ride height of the F50. That's how far it flies above the water. If you get it right, you can break 50 knots. If you get it wrong, you can break the boat, as we see here with Great Britain in Cowes.
The wing trimmer and the flight controller are pretty much the boat speed, basically. You know, we're working together constantly to... Stu's trying to fly the boat as high as possible, I'm trying to sail it as flat as possible, and we're constantly working together to provide Dylan with that nice, stable platform to make the boat go as fast as possible around the course and let him make decisions nicely.
What you can see here is the most common apparatus I use is a spinning wheel. This wheel here controls the leeward side, the rake of the dagger board, and that controls the height of the F50 coming out of the water. These buttons control things like the rudders, so what angle they're at, the differential they get. When we're sailing along and everything's set up, I'll be looking down there, I use the bow, the foil that I can see there, and sometimes I look back at the rudders and flying the boat like this.
On a normal boat, there's a dagger board, which is the vertical that stops the boat going sideways, comes up and down, and transfers the side force on the sail into forwards moment when the boat sails. But what we've also got is, as well as that vertical dagger board, we've got a horizontal which works like a plane wing. So as we change the angle of attack on that, if we add angle of attack, then it makes the boat fly higher, and if we remove it, it makes the boat fly lower.
On the other side, there's another spinny wheel. That has a rudder function when we've got 3 foils down, but it's more often used in the manoeuvres. Put all the foils down, and at that point, each wheel controls each side of the main foils at the front. That's kind of a tricky thing to do.
Oh, just see Chris Draper just getting thrown out of his position there.
The two big incidents that we've had have really been about the windward rudder coming out of the water. We're using the windward rudder for downforce for what we call righting moment. So we've got one rudder on the far side of the boat and one on the side that we're sitting, and we're actually angling that down so the wing is sucking the back down. So it's like we've got an elephant sitting on the back corner. And if that rudder comes out of the water, it's like that elephant's just jumped off, and the boat wants to do that. And that's what's happened. And really, that's, you know, my responsibility, Dylan's responsibility for how quick we turn the boat, how quickly I ease the wing, how much I twist it.
It's amazing how one small little thing knocks on effect, and then obviously the end product is people getting hurt and boats falling to bits, but moving forwards.
That was Chris Draper getting scorpioned out of the cockpit there, and that man is no spring chicken to get brutalised in that fashion. We've just had word through from Race Direction that we've got a 5-minute hold on the racing. Australia are struggling with their communication system, and both China and Japan have both got maintenance issues. So looks fairly relaxed on the Aussie boat at the moment, but the tech team are on board and they're working through. There's one shared pit crew, essentially, who work with all of the boats, and they'll have crews out on each of them now, trying to get everything up and running again. We don't know yet what the issue is with either China or Japan. Oh, we can see, it looks like one of the pedestals there. Oh, no, it's the wing trimmers winch, it looks like. But running repairs for 3 boats, so we are on a 5-minute hold at the moment. But a really solid performance, I think. We talked about it briefly, but Jean-Baptiste, a strong and very nearly consistent performance for Billy Besson.
Yes, we can see as from all the season, he's really consistent on the start. He managed really well the speed of the boat to be at his maximum when he crossed the line. Really good timing also. And his maneuver is getting better and better. So I hope to see a winning before the end of the day.
OK, well, we can hear from Billy now, see what he thought of that race.
Well, Billy, I hope you can hear me. It's Shirley here. I mean, what an amazing start. What an incredible race for France.
Yeah, we do a very good start, and we work hard for make good maneuvers, and we do a last lap just with the less wind. We try to fly, but we didn't fly, so we lost a bit.
It's the last event of the season. You're on home waters here. I mean, how important is it for you to really up your game in this last event?
Yeah, clear. We try very hard to make the world job and do the best for the public of Marseille.
And just lastly, perhaps answer in French, Billy. You know, there's a massive crowd here today in the rain. Many more are watching at home in France. A message for everyone who's supporting you in French.
Merci, un grand merci à tout le monde de venir nous encourager, même sous la pluie. Ça fait vraiment chaud au cœur de vous entendre tous, et vraiment super sympa que vous soyez tous là.
Merci, Billy. Bonne chance. Au revoir.
We have no comms units and cannot...
So, racing on home water obviously agrees with Billy Besson. You can see the sea wall there, and conditions have been very, very changeable. We were expecting wind at the absolute limit of the F50's capacity, and yet, as we saw in that race, it's been in and out. The fans are all out there, as we saw Billy say. Good courage for all of them to come out in these conditions and represent, but got some very passionate fans on that sea wall. We were out there yesterday, stood on the platform, and there's no shortage of noise being made by all of the fans there, and they get really good close proximity flybys from some of the boats as they get to the upwind mark. Now, out on the water, we've got the 4th member of our team, the silver medalist from the NACRA 17s in Rio. It's Lisa Darmanin. Lisa, what's going on with the wind out there? It looks very, very changeable.
Are the same, so those skippers really have to look around and not trust what happened the last lap and just trust themselves. They really can't worry about the other boats and just have to focus on what's happening in their boat.
You're out on the water in the mothership. What stories are developing from out there?
Yeah, so we heard on the commentary that the Australians were having comms issues, and those guys have gone to try fix it at the moment, and that's part of why we're having a race delay. But basically, they couldn't even hear race management and the start time, so that's why we saw them dead in the water at the start.
And how does it look on the inshore side of the course? Have you managed to take a look at that? Because there seemed to be differing amounts of pressure on each leg of the race.
Yeah, I really think that the rain is affecting the wind a lot. So those rain clouds are rolling in and pushing a lot of wind in. So it just depends what side of the course that rain's rolling in on.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. It sounds like really squally conditions out there in the bay off the port of Marseille. It's certainly going to get fruity for this second race, as you said before, Matt.
Yeah, well, it's funny though. There was actually chat about there being no sailing today because offshore here there's like 40 knots or something. So to see it this light, it's kind of surprising, really. So it could all still change.
Okay, very gusty. It's back to our commentary team. We've got sailing's very own straight talker, Jodie Shields, and a woman who many believe can talk to the wind. It's the double Olympic gold medalist, Shirley Robertson.
We are finally here. The grand final is upon us.
Looking good at the moment for us.
What a race, though, for the home team.
The Australians, what an absolutely awesome job.
Big righty here, actually. Yeah, just these. You got attacking boats. Yeah. 110. So we're above boat lay.
Okay, we are back for race number 5 here in the grand finale, Shirley.
Well, thankfully, we can hear the Aussies in the first race. They didn't have any comms, so they'll be pleased about that. Pretty hard to drive and sail these boats in this.
We've had a slight wind change. The breeze has gone 15 degrees to the right, so we've had a little bit of a course adjustment, hence the delay, and the boat's getting their comms and other technical issues fixed. But anyway, we have 42 seconds to go. We are still on small jibs and small rudders, foils, so the breeze isn't like we thought in the forecast. So it might find a little bit hard here, Shirley, to tack and jibe these boats up on the foils.
Well, we saw how powerful the Japanese starting style was, you know, get it up from a long way away and send it to that line. But in these conditions, that could be much harder to pull off.
You can hear there Tommy Slingsby saying he's a little bit early. He's just trying to wash a little bit of speed off. China's way down the bottom. Japan has to really slow up here.
Oh, that's a big error. Look how slow they are.
Here we go.
And off they go. So Phil Robertson might have got that start. Billy Besson once again. He's been starting fantastic on that French boat for this regatta, Shirley.
Yeah, I got him.
We can see the wing wash on the screen. The bad air coming off the Japanese and hitting everyone behind. But great start from China. Buoyed up by that third place in the last race.
For the Australian fans out there, don't despair because they had a very similar start in the last one and ended up coming back and winning. So it ain't over yet. But it's Japan going over the top of the rest of the fleet here, coming into the first jibe mark in good position with nice boat speed. 32 knots in about 8 knots of wind. That is pretty incredible.
Beautifully done by the Japanese. Got the inside position. They can now decide to carry on and jibe whenever they want.
You see a shot back there to the whole fleet. Everyone's starting to do their jibes. China.
Aussies jibing right at the mark. They like the right-hand side of the screen in the last race and, well, maybe hoping just to get something out there, get them back in the game.
And you can see the angle all the boats are doing on the jibe, which means it's very, very light. So they need to get the boat in, get the boat speed built back up so they get up on the foils to be able to send it downhill like the Chinese are doing right now.
Okay, getting better from here.
Jodie, today's weather has been the top of the week. 20 knots plus, gusting 30. And actually, so different.
When's the weather ever been correct ever? Anyway, they've got to deal with what they've got to deal with, and that is all we can do here in any sailing event. And China are doing a nice job in leading this fleet downhill.
The boat will be jibed before that boat. 15 seconds. Okay. A little further. waves.
Okay, stand by. More down. 2, 1,
Okay, mine.
Great illustration there, Shirley, of the communication that comes off the boat. So important everybody knows what they did, so it's a big effort that Australia could win that race, yet the last race without any comms at all. But Phil Robinson is still leading this race. He has done a great job at getting downwind here. Japan's come back into the mix as well. They've come from probably a very light hand spot. They were the furthest to go over into that ley line at the very top and struggled to come out. But he's found something.
Chinese firmly in the battle for that last place on the podium. Third spot, it means a lot. Currently 5 points adrift of Great Britain. But if the positions stay like this, it could be very much on.
Maybe they need a virus in the group every day at race time, because they are going so well. There's a little bit of chat they weren't even going to be sailing today because of the virus, but they're handling it quite well, because currently they're leading the Japanese, and then it looks like the Aussies are coming into the bottom mark now in third spot. And they're all, at this stage, choosing this right-hand gate downhill.
Aussies great speed round that turning mark. They never drop below 23, 24.
The only boat at this stage not to choose that one is Dylan Fletcher, who's also got a virus on board. There's viruses everywhere in the fleet at the moment, so which isn't handy, but they're dealing with it. Looks all right there, Dylan. He came around in a nice lift. So is it a drag race now over to this right-hand side?
And lock it in here, lads. Coming up, Trip.
Little 20 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like the British have really closed up that gap, and we heard the wing trimmer Chris Draper saying, lock it in, lads, just really drive for pace.
Brett, a little bit.
Fluid gate has been shortened to 0.82. Fluid gate has moved upwind.
So we've just heard the course has been slightly shortened just to get that top mark away from that big break wall, so that it helps these guys with their falling capabilities. But China are still leading from Japan. Great Britain had a nice close cross there with the Australians.
This would be such a result for China. A really difficult start to the season.
Slow it down slightly.
Disaster in San Francisco have been getting better and better.
Have a go at Phil Robinson's heart rate. Only 50%.
Pump it, 2, 1. Good, nice header, nice left. Okay, not far off attack here, guys.
Phil's hardly got a pulse. He's not stressed out by the day.
The other guys, the other one's the grinder. He's running at 90% max, so you can see he does all the work on these boats.
You know, Phil Robertson, he's used to a bit of tension. Match race world champion. He takes stress in his stride.
He's taking stress in his stride quite well at the moment, because he's leading two of the best in Nathan Outridge and Tommy Slingsby.
Quick, setting up.
Slow, the Chinese just looking at their speeds look a little slow.
Mate,
here we go. Oh, sorry.
It's all right, keep going, we're going good. Here we go.
Then taking off.
Yep.
You hear the despair there coming off the Japanese. Nathan wasn't quite happy with how he entered into that tack. But have a go at the Australians coming back into it. They were second last again off the start. And they're pretty much doing exactly what they did in race one. They're just coming back through this fleet, pretty much sending a warning that they've got plenty of boat speed, Shirley. That's one thing they definitely do have.
I think the Aussies change here very well. Kyle Langford, the wing trimmer, it's his job. He calls the mode. He's in charge of pace. And they just seem to be able to link the pressure together to maximise what they've got. And we don't see them often with two hulls in the water.
They're not going to like this. Nathan Outridge and the Japanese dumping all over the top of them just to give them as much wing wash as they can.
2, 1, turning.
But it's still Phil Robertson and the Chinese team. They haven't won a race yet all series, so will this be the day? They've got one more windward leg. They've got to go back down the bottom and back up the top again. and then into the finish, but they've got two very fast and hungry people in Nathan Outridge and Tom Slingsby coming at them. They want the wins.
Nice. Okay, now take the height.
Want to go high mode?
Lost the runners. Okay, keep going. So take height, take height. Got it.
Japanese boat had to go behind them. They were give-way boats.
Go early,
So here they want the right-hand gate there.
Yes. Now we are. Sit down, stand by tack. 2.
Look at the gates. I mean, a massive skew
Go boys, go, go,
in terms of angle. The one nearest us at the bottom of the screen.
Flag it.
Way closer.
Almost right sailing.
I think they thought they might have they caught Phil Robertson and the Chinese out there, but I think they were in the zone by the time that the Japanese come over. So the Chinese now trying to get up on the foils. He'll start turning that bow around right on cue. There he goes, sending it downhill. Nathan Outridge and the Japanese fall all the way around there, Mark.
I'm not sure why Nathan necessarily flagged that. If you get into the zone first, you have all the rights to turn.
So Australia also want to come over this right-hand side. So at this stage, Nathan Outridge and his Japanese are the only ones.
Can you repeat the course change, over?
Chinese flying high, over a metre at times.
Course change is lure gate shortened up.
You're right.
6.75 nautical miles.
On lay.
Lure gate has been shortened.
Okay, so as you hear there, the leeward gate has been shortened up, so they've made the adjustment down the bottom. But have a look what's happened to Japan. They went over to the left-hand gate, went over, and they have got big losses. It's all about China just sending it downhill now. Remember, they went around this top mark pretty much together, Shirley.
Good there.
Driving left.
Massive loss from Japan.
They are in super struggle, and here's the cross. Phil Robinson was already in the zone. You see his lights are flashing, saying he's within the zone, the green light on the back. So Nathan Outridge had to just take him at his stern. Even though he's on starboard, he was still pretty safe there, Phil. So well done for Phil and his team for holding their nerve on that one.
Hook up here. Port up. Right.
Phil Robertson's good at this. The more sniggly and difficult and street fighting it is, he's absolutely in his element. Flying the boat really hard. I mean, just looking at some of their stats, they're up over a metre sometimes. You feel really confident in their pace.
And you can see the Aussies also went the same way as the Chinese, and they have also put a big dent in the Japanese. They're in the second spot now of the Aussies. So it's all about getting out of that seaside with that big wind shift that goes to the right. It was funny that the Japanese thought that they'd want to go up underneath that break wall where it was pretty puffy and light. So bad mistake there by Nathan and his crew. He'll be ruining that right now.
Okay.
Tommy's keen to go over to the right down low. I think this is more about setting yourself up to get one tack off this boundary and then get into the middle of the course back over on the seaside. Shirley, how would you read that?
I think we've got to go pretty early here. Stand by, building. Touch and go. Ease, big ease.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he looks headed and light there. I'd be trying to get out of that corner.
Copy. Nice, Tony.
And if he gets headed going in, it means he's going to get lifted coming out, so he might get something, some sort of little private one on the bottom end of this course.
Nice, boys. Okay. Now take the height.
So Phil Robinson has got one more work to go.
Boys, hit it.
That's a nice shift.
Yeah. Happy numbers.
Yeah, just going to keep a little alert here, lad. Just take the height when you can.
Going in like 20 seconds, okay?
Okay, get some speed up first then.
Pressing.
We're hearing a lot of dialogue, not only from Phil, but also from Paul Campbell-James, the wingman. I mean, watching the platform, they're up and down. Not nearly as rock steady as what we're used to looking at from the Aussies and the Japanese, but keeping it fast.
Right. Not attacking, Leo.
He was just about to go for an attack and he got a big lift and he had to call it back. So that was a little bit of a moment there. You see here another moment that's about to happen. The Japanese and the Australians are coming back into it. Japan, who went to the left-hand gate, have got back in front of Australia, who went to the right.
Good pressure
pretty
coming
much
on.
fell into a pretty big hole over there, Shirley.
Not great, but okay.
You can never relax. It is never over. And we sort of saw that at the bottom, Jody, that left-hand corner. High risk.
Very much so. So now Tom Slingsby needs something off this seaside. He got it in the first race. He'd be hoping that he gets over here again. Looks like Japan are going over to the left. China are coming over here with the Aussies. China possibly have one more tack in towards the top and into the finish for their first ever win in SailGP. And they will be pretty stoked for a group of people who have got lots of sickness on board.
All right, pressing, not able to pop. Okay, 2, 1.
Not able to pop, not enough boat speed to get both hulls out the water.
We'll be strong, we'll get stronger.
Yeah, good pressure.
So the cross between Australia and Japan is going to be very close. It's about who can get up and get foiling first and build that boat speed.
Good path here, TJ. Out shoulder.
This victory, they'll have to go around this mark and turn right. This victory will be so sweet for that Chinese team.
Okay, the Aussies and the Japanese are close again. They just will not let each other go. Australia now in front of the Japanese. He's looking around. Where's he going? What's he going into? He's not going to let him go and get something special. Meanwhile, the Chinese, all they have to do, they've got 100 metres to go to get towards that top gate. One tack to the right and into the finish in front of the big crowd on the break wall here in Marseille, who are definitely braving the elements, I must say. Good on them for doing that.
Help it down, Jimbo, help.
Japan, sorry, going right over to the right-hand ley line. You see that yellow line. And here's Phil Robertson.
Still back. Try and go neutral.
Just, that is so painful at the moment when he's trying to get up to that gate.
Yeah, it is. I think we're just...
They're supposed to be foiling these boats, but there's absolutely zero foiling going on right now.
Configurated, of course, for 20, 30 knots. So pretty underpowered, small boards, tiny jib, really difficult in this light area at the top of the course.
But just as they come in towards the finish, they're up and foiling. And here is the first win for SailGP ever for China. Well done, Team China and Phil Robertson. Awesome job.
Nice done, boys. Solid.
The Aussies and the Japanese. The Aussies just doing enough there to keep their momentum up and around the top of the Japanese. They're very slow around that last mark there, Shirley. Aussies are going to extend this fairly comfortable, up and foiling now. So those tacks at that very top are so painful.
Team China.
And this is a worry, I'd say, for Nathan Outridge and the Japanese team. Whatever they give, the Aussies just seem to come back.
They have got plenty of boat speed in that boat, that's for sure. Lots and lots.
I think they're sailing well too. They're sort of looser. They're making decisions, on the hoof, whereas I don't know if there's a bit of tension in the Japanese camp.
Well, a very historical race there. We have another first-time winner in China, so that's fantastic. And I cannot wait until the next race. It's going to be a cracker.
So they want to talk to us? They talk to you through that, and you talk to them through this.
So an historic first victory for Phil Robertson on the Chinese SailGP team boat. You can see there he's looking very, very pleased about this one. But you've got to say, Matt, JB, that he's emerging as the dark horse in the race for third place, isn't he? He's had some very consistent results here.
Well, we said there could be some more twists in the tail about that third place, and it's great to see that happening today. And isn't it great to see someone who's not in a Japanese boat, an Australian boat, winning a race too? I'm always happy to see that.
JB, we talked about consistency from Billy Besson in the first race. Phil Robertson's come out and shown us that all of the manoeuvres, he can complete them, and he stretched out a big lead there.
He was there also at the first race, so it means that his start is good. Maybe he has less pressure.
Definitely a good case for that. Matt, talk us through your analysis.
Well, the first point I want to look at is that the first jibe these guys had to make. I think this was a really, really difficult decision to make. It's so hard for them to see the breeze because it's coming off the wall and there's no time to see it. And yeah, whether you stick or twist and go for that first jibe or whether you carry on, you can see it here. The first boats are going there. The Japanese counter. Well, we know it's lighter over there. The Chinese did delay theirs a little bit, and you want to get over to this right-hand side because we know there's better pressure there, but you can see the boats at the top, they jibe straight away, and then way less pressure. I mean, look at the angle there. It's completely different. So well done, the Chinese there, for just holding on a little bit and then seeing that work.
And conditions-wise, it's clear that there's more on the right-hand side than the left.
Yeah, the first race we could stay with the question, but at the second race, for sure, everyone was coming back from the right side of the course who are leading, for sure. They were faster.
Okay, great first win for China here at the Marseille SailGP Grand Final. So Phil Robertson with the full quota of 10 points. Australia just sneaking in ahead of Nathan Outridge's Japan for a second victory in their private little battle. Great Britain claim fourth, United States and France round out the sixth. So there's plenty of boats out on the water alongside all of the F50s here at the Marseille SailGP Grand Final, and that includes the Inspire Youth Programme. So you can see we've got all of the RS catamarans out on the water, and this is a successful program that has been rolled out by SailGP to take local community groups out onto the water and get kids into sailing. There were 18 local sailors who went out with 8 different clubs to participate. There was a 50-50 split between boys and girls from each club. And among the winners on day one were Lucien Perrault and Emma Picot, who you can see there on the cat. So the big news for SailGP at the moment, however, is that we have a 7th boat in the mix. We can't reveal who it is quite yet, but we can tell you that the boat is under construction in New Zealand, and it will feature a new modular wing. Current wings are 24 metres high, but the new wings offer a much broader range of wind use. So it means we'll be able to go from 3 knots with this 29-metre light air wing, but then you can take out this modular section in the middle. The wing will drop down to 24 metres, which is the standard all-purpose wing that we're using at the moment. Or you can take out a second module and the wing comes down to just 18 metres, and that will extend the wind range right up to 30 knots. So cows would be well within our reach this time next year. These wings are due to be released for the second stop of the season next year. But the first stop of the season will once again be Sydney Harbour, and the dates are confirmed for February the 28th and the 29th. So we will definitely see you there. So let's come back to this battle between Japan and China. We saw some very, very close racing there, Matt.
Yeah, especially at the top of the second beat, they were, there was close crosses all the time, and then right at the top of this is what happened at the top of that beat. The Chinese in their right, so they got water in that mark because they went into that the zone of that mark with no overlap, and they were first there. But look how slow they were going. And we thought, they might have sort of choked the race here. They sort of go high here too to build speed, and they're losing quite a lot. But we said that right-hand side of the course, that's the favoured side, and they got going here and suddenly had a big lead again.
That was ridiculously close. Do you think Nathan Outridge would have been calling to try and get the hull lifted up to get it over the back of Phil Robertson and China?
Asking Goobs to put a bit more wing on to get it high, maybe. But you've still got a rudder at the back, so you've got to be a little bit careful.
OK, and then after that, we saw that big fall down from Nathan. He chose the wrong side of the course, JB.
Yeah, it looks that, again, the left side of the course was really bad for him, so he lost so much. But managed to came back at the last upwind, third upwind, and was really close with Australian.
But ultimately, it did cost him. He chose the wrong side of the course, and we can hear now a bit of radio from Nathan apologising to the rest of the crew. He's made a couple of unforced errors, you could say now, that have cost him in the last 2 races. Let's listen to this apology.
Straight into almost last position there. Sorry about that, boys.
Still struggling.
I know. I can't come. There we go. Pressure, take us down from here.
Yeah, well, you heard Nathan there apologising for that mistake. He knows that he's chosen the wrong side of the course, and it was looking very much in the first race like he was going to take it. That would have put 3 wins on the board for him, 1 for Nathan. And at that point, 1 for Tom Slingsby in Australia. At that point, you're not too worried about who's looking more impressive in the points tally. You're thinking, I've taken 3 victories out of the 4 races here. But suddenly, it's all slipped through his fingers. Tom Slingsby has got Australia with 3 victories, well, 3 wins over Japan, I should say.
Yeah, they're having a funny old day, aren't they? It's really hard out there, let's face it. Big swings and roundabouts. Going to use some analogies here. The snakes and ladders. There's some big snakes and ladders. And normally these conditions sort of suit them, don't they? We've seen in New York, they did really well in those kind of conditions. But today they're just not quite getting it right. I mean, you know, tomorrow's another day, but it's not their day so far, is it?
Better today rather than tomorrow, JB?
I'm not sure. Depends of the cloud, I think. But it's really hard to sail in those conditions because you don't know if you prefer to keep the fly or to tack to go on the right side.
Yeah,
so,
well, the shorter distance or to try and keep it foiling. OK, well, we can hear now from the winning skipper in that last fleet race, number 5. It's Phil Robertson of China, and it was his first victory.
Phil Robertson, congratulations. What a race. We loved watching that. How sweet was that victory?
Yeah, bit of gun smoke. I think the boys like the smell of that, but look, it was, yeah, that's a victory we'll cherish for a long time. I think we were probably half an hour before dock-off. We weren't going yachting. We were about to put the boat back due to some sickness on board, and yeah, it was all shut down. I'll pull through and I'll get out and give it my best. So, I mean, it's doing a fantastic job. It was probably 10 minutes away from going to hospital, but here we are, winning races, so it's a great feeling.
Well, that's a lovely sight, seeing Phil Robertson in such high spirits. It's been a very difficult season for Phil Robertson. He's had some low lows, but these are his stats from that race. You can see race time 14:28, but the foil time only 11:09, and that tells the story about those lighter airs at the top of the course, Matt.
Yeah, and also look how many tacks he did. He did 9 tacks in that race. That's a lot. And I think that's because they aren't going all the way to the left. They're tacking early and getting back over to the right where those gains can be made.
Interesting, because you would have thought in lighter airs, more manoeuvres is more risky, but he's working hard and he's finding the pressure there, JB.
Yeah, as I said before, it's really hard to know if you prefer to keep the strong wind, I mean, stronger wind than the left side, or tacking more often.
Okay.
So.
Well, we can take a look now at the overall championship standings after the 5th fleet race. We've got Australia out in front, Japan just behind, but China and Great Britain very, very close now in that battle for 3rd. It's time for our 3rd and final fleet race from today. It's back to the commentary.
Well, we're back for race number 6, and Shirley, the red bow, and a bit of a teaser. Who is it going to be?
What do you think? I think Wales, Canada, Denmark, Switzerland. I don't know, there's too many countries with red in their flag.
Well, as I am the Oracle of Flags, there are 148 countries with red in their flag, so good luck to anybody out there working it out. But it's very, very exciting. That is for sure. One thing that is also exciting is we are about to go racing again for the final race today.
Look at this, Jodie. I mean, Japan trying all kinds of approaches. So difficult here in the light winds off the shelter. Approaching in port tack, the opposite direction to everyone else.
think what they might be trying to do here, Shirley, is just stay up on the foils. They did this in the practice racing. Stayed up on the foils. It worked great for them, and then try and get that time on distance set up for the start line. They're very, very high in the box. Everyone else is real low.
Australia look late, right at the back.
On board with the team that just got their first win ever in SailGP in China, and they're doing a nice job here again. Australia, will they be able to get into that bottom part of the mark with a bit of speed? USA do a nice job right in the middle. Australia do a great job. They're up and foiling, also up and foiling at the top end of the course. Is Japan, so two definitely different approaches. Pretty much same result. Australia look quite nice there.
Great start by the Aussies. They looked like they were going to be late, Jody, but just had more pace, got on the foils, sent it.
Absolutely, and Japan have got USA to worry about here. USA might force him up, keep him away from actually getting right into that zone. Not much of a chance there for USA to do anything else. Australia just have to fold in behind the USA now. So Rome Kirby and his crew leading into the first mark for the first time. We've had so many different lead changes here. It's been fantastic in this races here today.
Nathan Eichard's the Japanese team. They're a little bit pinned there. I mean, really, they don't want to be going to it, desperately hard into that left-hand side.
You see the Aussies there jived off straight around the mark. They look very, very soft coming out of that mark. Whether Tom and his crew have seen that seaside, something coming off there. It obviously worked for him a couple of times.
Wing sheet. Wait, hold your weight. Okay, trying to pop here. Okay,
The angle that the Japanese and the USA have had to come in from that right-hand side.
They're not going yet.
Copy, and popping.
Holding their nerve as the Australians and up and foiling. Off they go.
I've got it.
On these small foils, the high wind foils, you need about 20 knots of boat speed in order to get the boat out of the water.
There's 10 seconds to
They've certainly got 20 knots. They've got 28 knots and going straight downwind, as opposed to the Japanese, who are still short. Very high, very, very high there in that flight control.
Okay, turning, little faster turn.
My wheel.
Yeah.
Kyle Langford done well to stay on the boat, then he got thrown straight up out of the tramp as he was running across.
Okay. Sorry, Milky.
Hit it, boys.
So they've done well there, Australia. They jived off first, they sat it underneath that mark, they held their nerve, and it's paid off well for them because they are leading this race now, with Japan just setting up for a jive. USA also coming over to this side will have to jive very, very soon. Look how far past the imaginary ley lines they've gone, Shirley. All the way to the boundary, so the angles coming into that bottom mark are massive.
I think the lines on the screens are produced obviously by the computer, by the software. You cannot trust them when conditions are so variable.
Yeah, okay, having a look.
Struggling a little here to get, okay, there's a new pump, and trim it on, take a dig down here.
I think we go right turn. I can't see much back the other way.
Okay, Gusby just completely with his back turned to the boat, looking for the wind, trying to figure out which gate he wants to
adding a bit of rudders here, Milky,
to set himself up for the work.
He's called right gate at the bottom.
Okay, turning up in 2, 1, turning up.
Which is the left-hand one for us, looking at the screen. You must feel confident that at the moment there's pressure on that left-hand side, but it's a massive danger area over there.
Look at the lead. This is the first leg. They've already got a 250-metre lead on the rest of the fleet. So an absolutely amazing job they've done of jibing out early, holding their nerve, getting in that fresh breeze, and just sending it downhill. Now they've got to link it all up. Now they've got to get back up the top, which is easier than it sounds.
Going forward.
I think Nathan Outridge is going to be really frustrated by today. He's been going fast, making some good decisions, but giving it away.
Japan went around that right-hand gate, but then threw it straight into attack. Looks like there's been a massive left-hand shift. And as you can see there by that shot, the Australians and the Japanese are pretty much going straight back upwind towards the top end of the mark. And that's why he threw it.
Aussies right under the graphic, but they are super light. 2 hulls in the water. And look at the American boat, my goodness.
This is painful. These guys have got all the small gear on. We're expecting 20 knots. We're expecting heaps of action. And we're sitting here watching these F50s just drifting into this bottom mark. But we know that will change in a blink of an eye. Rome Kirby just looking around, seeing what can we do to get out of this. Have a go at the angle the Aussies and the Australians, the Aussies and the Japanese are doing. But you can see at the top of the screen, there's a little puff of breeze coming down. Who's going to get that breeze first? Who will be able to bear away, get their boat up on the foil?
Yeah. So it looks like this is going to stay left and then maybe fade right.
They've gone very soft fluid.
Yeah, you've seen some of the
looks on
crew
our
members
hip.
moving forward
I
in the
can
boat,
see a
just
left,
pushing
right
the weight
hander
out
up
of
ahead.
the back of the boat. This is real light wind displacement sailing.
This is where your nerves have to be of steel. You just have to trust your instincts, wait for it to come, and not make any rash decisions to turn the boat to do a tackle or whatever, because you lose so much time. You just have to keep it moving.
We just keep it rumbling if we get a bit more pace. Yeah, he's just shutting down now.
Okay, so we're
Going to be able to pop
we're about to go back and have a look at the start.
2, 1. Hey!
Protest. Got it.
Okay, pressing hard here.
Well, you can see the pace of the Aussie team. You know, they hung back, they accelerated quickly, and they were in the position on the start
rolling
line.
up a little.
Nicely done.
He's done a great job there of forcing Phil Robertson and China up out of the way to clear his air. It's a beautiful job there by
We've got to
his
just
trainers.
try to stay on the foils.
And that's what got him into that great position. But we're back to live action now, and this is what they call H1. It's one hull in the water. The Aussies are 2 hulls in the water. So right now we should have the big jibs on and the big foils, all that sort of thing, but we can't change.
Good boat speed here from the Japanese. You know, nearly 50% more than the Aussie. So keeping it rumbling. That's what Nathan said. Keep it rumbling. Go as fast as you can in what you've got. Kai Hurst having a rest.
The Iron Man, he's having a little bit of a break from
coming
grinding.
on here in 3 seconds.
Keeping nice and low for the
they're at the
aerodynamics.
moment.
Keeping his weight forward to keep the back of the boat out of the water.
Yeah, we'll get it here.
He's not asleep. He's just getting his heart rate back.
Header.
So we are still in this real low, slow mode of sailing. Every sailor's looking around Shirley. What do? You just go from edge to edge. You just got to wait for the breeze to come at you.
I think at the moment, either way, you're almost 2 hulls in around that top mark. Yeah, good pressure here. Take everyone, I think.
Which way gets us offshore faster?
I think right-hand turn. Right-hand turn is my bet right now. The right-hand mark looks way closer to us.
Well, Luke Parkinson asking the question, how are we going to get away from the shore quickest? Right-hand mark, I think, was his call.
Yeah, and I think wherever the breeze is would be my answer, but we can't see any wind here at the moment. It is very, very light. They're not even trying to pop up on a hull yet. They're just trying to keep that windward hull out of the water to reduce the drag. Still got 2 crewmen in the lure there, as you see.
I'm just looking at the bar along the bottom, Jodie. That battle for 3rd place, very, very real. China within touching distance, 2 points of the British boat. The British boat is a long way back.
They are a long way back indeed, but it's hard to make up any time when the breeze is so light. We just have to pray and hope that we get up here. Looks like a bit of a rain squall's gone through the course area. Once this rain pushes through, the wind hopefully will arrive. And we'll see these awesome flying machines do what they do best, to get up on the foils.
When the foil height says minus,
that's not good.
You know it's slow. It means that the hulls are very much in the water.
Yes, absolutely.
Which angle's lifted?
Doesn't mean they're actually sinking, but it's not good. Very light tack here. The Aussies, they would love to be able to make this top mark. I'm not sure where they're going to from down there, Shirley. Maybe if they have to do 2 tacks, that's going to be pretty painful.
Or 1 tack and go to the left-hand mark, you know, but left-hand side is...
Really light breeze, isn't it? Yeah.
A little bit above us here. Yep. Work it down a bit of pressure. It's a bit of a header.
It looks easy, ladies and gentlemen, but this is the hardest kind of sailing. It really is. You're going to take a deep breath, lower the heart rate.
Hayley will be proud. She always thinks we do best in the NACRA when we're not foiling, even though I'm meant to be a good... Yeah.
Ian Jensen, wing trimmer on the Japanese. Just it looked like he was just chewing his audio set, but he was looking at the numbers on his screen.
Nathan just giving his sister Hayley a shout out there about how they sail their NACRA, and they reckon that they go well in the light airs, and that's exactly what Nathan's doing at the moment. A little bit of a cross coming here between Australia and France.
This is regardless. Change of instructions. Course is now being shortened to finish at the leeward gate. Course short. Finish at the leeward gate.
So we've just heard there will be a shortening of this race because the wind has died. They will finish at the end of the next leg at the leeward gate. So one more leg remaining on race 3 of today.
We have a penalty on France. Penalty on France. So we'll hear
This is the umpires. This is the umpires. We have penalty France against Australia. You didn't have room at the mark.
There you go. The penalty is against Australia. They didn't have room at the mark, so France must have had entered into the zone first, which we couldn't quite see, and they had to give France room to get into that mark. So that's going to saying there's a penalty on France here on the graphic.
Australia had entered that zone first, but they parked up in no end, and I think Billy Beeson thought he could just swing it round on the inside.
Getting rolled here.
So Billy must now slow his boat down and wait to Australia is back ahead.
Penalty clear, penalty clear.
Penalty clear.
Very tight here now between France, USA, Australia, all drifting up the very top. USA actually have to go up and around France as they have dead set parked it up. Look at the angles these boats are doing, Shirley. They've only got to get down to the bottom. That's the good news for the boats, but at this speed, it's going to take about 10 hours. That's a long way down there in absolutely no wind. Australia got a little bit of breeze to separate themselves from the USA and French.
Open suggestions in this light stuff. I'm shocked. Okay, well, a little bit of breeze, just the weather here. USA is going to hit this boundary for us. There's nothing over the French side on this right side. I think Japan's even going to drive. Did they say finish at the leeward gate? Oh, yeah. Japan's driving beneath us, so I think they want to see we're going the right way. Yeah. So watch that boundary.
So you can see there the confusion is just all over the fleet. They don't know what to do. They're all looking around, looking for wind. Looks like the breeze has absolutely evaporated completely on the course, so they're just looking for any sort of sign of anything dark on the course, which will indicate where the wind's coming from.
We get going, eh? Yeah.
Richard Slater, Chief Umpire. It's Shirley here in comms. Just while we've got a moment, it would be great if you could explain that penalty that was allocated to France.
Hi Shirley. Yes, it was a very low-speed rules example. When Australia got to the zone of the mark, they were actually clear ahead. So Australia then went and did 2 tacks, and they were always entitled to the room to go around that mark. When French dived inside them, they prevented Australia from sailing their course, and so we penalised France.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, they're still in the drift off. Have a go at where these boats are, Shirley. Halfway down the run, they're downhill, and these boats are doing 5.5, 6 knots of breeze. Sailors are up the front. The interest level on board seems to be very, very low because they just can't do anything. They're just stuck, waiting for the wind.
I'm not sure about that. Nathan Outridge is fully locked on. Look at him looking around, looking for pressure. I mean, we heard him on the comm say to his crew, you know, we could get passed by everyone here. I need to be absolutely on it.
Half of them are asleep.
Yep. Good pressure on us right now. Maybe build a bit of speed here and then we'll charge, boys.
Okay, so we're still on the way downhill. It's very, very light. Japan trying to just jibe out off that boundary. They were probably worried about getting too close and getting stuck on the boundary because they've still got a bit of a lead relative to the rest of the fleet. France surely looked like they might have picked something up in the middle of the course there. But boy, it is so light here. It will be so nerve-wracking being on these boats as we speak right now.
Well, we're obviously experts, Jodie, because we've got this lovely helicopter shot. But to me, it looks like there was pressure on that right-hand side. And I think we see France getting a little bit of that.
Just going through a jibe now. There's a lot of black cloud in behind them too. If you look up behind the French centerboard, daggerboard that's just going up there, the breeze definitely looked a little bit darker on the water. So are they going to be able to link that pressure up and pull some great positions back? But at this stage, boats are doing 3.5, 4 knots, 6 knots. The Great Britain will be loving this because they might catch the breeze and bring it all the way to the rest of the fleet and come back from their last position. But it is super, super light out there at the moment. Looks like Japan might have picked up that little bit of pressure. I don't think they got the lead they had. It looked like they had probably a 300 odd metres, but now they might have this fleet might be bringing pressure down as you're seeing in displacement boat racing. The boats behind bring the breeze to the boats in front. That might be what's happening here, Shirley.
Currently, the fastest boat in this fleet is the Americans, 11, 12 knots. And of course, once you get a bit of pace, then you're off.
Ready. So the wind has pulled off a fantastic disappearing act on us, and that means that this race is overrunning. So for those of you watching us on traditional television channels, I'm afraid we're going to have to say goodbye to you now. But if you want to continue watching and see how this third and final fleet race of the second ever racing here at the Marseille SailGP Grand Final ends, then you can do so digitally on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, and on the SailGP app. Right now, though, moves continue as the F50s battle it out in the middle of this downwind leg, making their way to the finish. Join us tomorrow, though, if you can. We'll be here in Marseille for 2 fleet races to classify 3rd to 6th position, then the toe-to-toe championship final race at 3:30. We'll see you then.
Still trying to build.
They're still looking around a lot, trying to find what options they've got. Definitely looks like there's breeze coming down this boundary side, Shirley. If they can sort of link them in, stay with them. It's, now all of a sudden, if the Australians get a little bit of pressure there, these 3 boats might be back in the picture.
We've got space. It's okay. Not past down. Shut up, everybody. Shut up and calm down.
Jimmy, small ease to me.
You got to watch the numbers, boys.
Hold that.
Okay, stand by, guys.
Even the excitement levels getting elevated on board, Shirley, just trying to calm them down.
I know how he feels. When it gets like this and everyone's talking, there's just way too much noise.
We've got a big lefty coming. Well, I'm 60.
Yeah, I'm just worried that's just the velocity. It's worth a go, isn't it? There's something in front of us. You see the rips over here?
The bottom marks looking at flags. Okay, I'm 90 here. The Aussies are moving nicely. I'm 100.
The number he's calling is the heading.
Australia done quite nice off that right-hand side, that they were behind most of these boats in this bunch. Looks like they've pulled at least 2 back. The Chinese are possibly still in front if that breeze that Phil Robinson was calling for comes in. But at this stage, Australia are the fastest boat on the water.
Yeah, you reckon that might be a bit of lefty, Milky?
Yeah, copy, I reckon.
Could be.
Yeah. Like look at the jib where.
Yeah. Just ease wing there a little, just stand for reshuffle a little.
So the
It's going
Aussie
really
calling
headed
it
for us.
to a shift in breeze, the wind going round to the left, and you saw the angle of the boats come down towards the marks. Phil Robertson could be well placed here.
Remember, this is the last leg. We're finishing downwind, so it's all about who can link this up and get to the downwind to take this win for the third and final race here today.
Chinese hold that spot. They will go into third place on the overall standings.
So with 100 metres to go in the slowest race we've seen so far here in SailGP, it looks like Japan have done the best job in linking all these tiny puffs in. And over they go for a very slow win.
Well done, guys. Smash that one out of the park.
Good work, boys. It's a long way around to drive, isn't it?
So just coming in the screen now is the Australians. So halfway up that downhill, they were looking like they were in fifth spot. They held their nerve. They went out to sea. They got a little bit of pressure the other boats didn't get, which has put them back. We're worried about them losing 3 or 4 places to the Japanese now that it looks like they're only going to lose 1 point.
Oh no, we taxed before anyone.
Exactly, like we do.
Huge lead.
That's good.
Okay, nice day, guys. Sorry about that one. But
And there it is, the Aussies over for second. Well done to them.
nice, boys.
Woo! $1 million race coming up.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Shirley. What an absolutely interesting finish for this day's racing. We had high wind expected. We had no wind at all.
Come on, boat.
Bring on tomorrow. What can we see?
Sails coming down and click. Oh, unlucky.
So maybe not the fastest race we've ever seen at SailGP, but certainly there was no shortage of tension there. Oh, so cruel at the finish. Billy Besson sneaks in just ahead of Phil Robertson, and we heard the roar of the French fans on the seawall here in Marseille as Billy Besson sneaks a place off the Chinese, and that place was so crucial to Phil Robertson because it would have drawn him level with the British SailGP team. Instead, he'll have to settle, I think, if my maths is correct, for 1 point behind them as they go into that third and final day's fleet racing, where all of the positions from third down to 6 will be classified. We've got 2 more fleet races to go. But, gentlemen, again, a fascinating exchange between Australia and Japan. Matt, they really aren't letting up on this, are they?
No, it's always those guys up front again, isn't it? You know, even when the conditions just turn inside out, they still manage to find their way through. The Japanese doing a great job of just wiggling around there. You know, that was so tough.
And really disappointing. You're the local man here, JB. You know what it's doing. It just died away.
Yeah, it was supposed to be windy today, but at the end, like every moment was passing, was getting less wind and less wind. So the end of the race was really light.
Okay, Matt, you've been going through the analysis. What have you pulled out for us?
The start was great with the Australians, I think. We'd like to have a look at that. And also the first drive was critical again. Now, you see here, there was no real room there, but they just found a little bit of space. You know, they've got rights to give the Chinese there a little love. You see him just coming in underneath them there. They had to give him an opportunity to keep clear, but just squeezed in there and just perfecting it really just with the boat speed and timing it right, because that wasn't an easy thing to do from the spot they're in. And then again,
what does
the
he do
first
here?
jibe was critical. We saw it in the last race. Actually jibing early didn't work, although getting out to the right side was the right thing to do. Jibing early in the last race was, you know, it didn't pay well for anyone that did it, but it really worked for these guys, and they got out to that breeze that we've talked about on that side of the course, and they were able to get a big lead from there. But then later on, they did get sucked back into the pack, and when it all went light there, and it wasn't their race in the end.
JB, how do you see this one with Billy Besson and Tom Slingsby coming together at the mark?
Yeah, I think it was a big mistake from Billy, but I think he thought that the Australia boat was really slow and he can tack it inside, but it was way too close.
Okay, certainly. I know Tom Slingsby wasn't too happy about that manoeuvre from Billy Besson. We can hear his audio now, I think.
Alors, moi aussi, je pense qu'il y avait la... Je suis d'accord avec toi.
Bower. Copy. Okay, let us swing. Need a jib back. Need a jib back.
Got no steerage.
This is the umpire.
You're right. You're clear now, Tom.
We have penalty France against Australia.
Okay, you can hear just how excited Tom Slingsby was about that manoeuvre from Billy Besson. But with that little wind, as you said, JB, the boat was stalled. There was not an awful lot. Billy thought there was room. By the time he realised there wasn't any, there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah, those boats when they are really slow, they are really hard to maneuver. So he take his chance, but he loses. So.
Okay, Matt, we've come to the end of the fleet racing for Australia and Japan. There was a wry smile on Nathan Outridge's lips as he crossed the finish line there, but it feels like today was almost academic. It hasn't changed anything in the standings, and certainly it was just a little bit of light sparring. Do you feel that?
Yeah, certainly. All the match racing we saw them doing yesterday, particularly in the pre-start, there was none of that, and it seemed like they were just leaving each other alone, really. I think all the teams have suffered with some of the guys having some illness. There's been a bit of a bug going around. The conditions being as tricky as they were. The important thing for those teams today was just not to break anything, just to keep it clean out there and get around the course. It was fun to see the match racing yesterday, but it's not a surprise to see them just sailing the course today.
Okay, well, we can hear from Nathan Outridge now, the skipper of the Japan boat who won the last race.
Nathan, massive congratulations to you and your team for that race.
Team Australia.
Felt like
Team
anything
Japan,
could happen.
As they have qualified for the match race final. Will not be
better to be lucky than good.
required to participate in any more fleet races, races 7 and 8 tomorrow.
Happy with that one, but a bit
Just
frustrating.
repeating,
First few
Japan
races
and Australia not to participate in races.
You came
7
into
and
these
8
fleet races looking to
tomorrow,
close
Sunday.
that gap with Australia. That hasn't happened. How much is that preying on your mind looking ahead to tomorrow?
As long as we get a match race tomorrow, it doesn't matter at all, to be honest. I think our team's sailing well. We're making some errors, and Tom has been, sailing very well from the start. So, tomorrow is all about winning the match race start and, keeping them behind us. And we've learned a lot the last few days about how to do that better. So, we just cross our fingers and hope the weather is better than today and not too windy, and we'll have a good day.
What weakness do you see in the Aussies? How are you going to close that gap up?
I think the weakness that we're experiencing right now is our own weakness. Every race in this whole event here, we've been ahead of them and we've let them through. So we've got to look at ourselves more than we've got to look at them right now.
And just lastly, very quickly, what can we expect tomorrow? What can the viewer expect to see?
Well, tomorrow the forecast is meant to be quite windy, similar to what was meant to be today, and that never happened. So the only difference is it's not going to be raining. So I think we're going to have a really high-speed racetrack, and I think we're going to have some good combat action, and someone's going to be very happy tomorrow and someone's going to be quite upset. So we know which side we want to be on.
Well, we can't wait to watch that. Have a good night. Thanks again, Nathan.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
He's not wrong. Someone is going to leave tomorrow very happy. Someone is going to be quite upset. Nathan Outridge takes the win in the third and final race, just ahead of Tom Slingsby. Those two neck and neck all day. Billy Besson of France squeaks into third in that last race. Phil Robertson of China gets the best of the United States and Great Britain. So we know that Japan and Australia are up at the top, but let's look at this championship leaderboard, because it is all change in the bottom four. And that coveted race for the third spot, China are in there, as are Great Britain. Level. They've got 2 more fleet races tomorrow morning to decide who is going to make that. France and the United States still not very far off the pace when you consider there are 10 points up for grabs for the winners. So the last day of racing on the inaugural SailGP season will run like this. 2 fleet races, 20 to 3 local time, and then 5 past 3. Those will decide who gets that 3rd spot, the last place on the podium. And then we come into that championship final race. 2 teams, $1 million, only 1 winner. Myself and Matt will be here. Jean-Baptiste, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 local time for the finale of SailGP 2019. Do not go anywhere. This one is going to be dramatic.
Definitely have a race on here.
Looking good at the moment for us.
Australians, what an absolutely awesome job. With 1 tack, the Australians have gone from 3rd to 1st.
You can never relax. It is never over. This victory will be so sweet for that Chinese team.